You must have heard tales about architecture. Some say architecture is all about piling up jargon. That sounding intimidating is what makes it impressive. Others say architectural design is no more than armchair strategizing. That getting straight to coding is far more practical. But now, you will hear a tale which no one has ever known.
Hello everyone, I'm No Dr. Wang. Today, I will use some scenes from Black Myth, Wukong to introduce my experience of restructuring the code of 20 product lines for a genetic testing and diagnosis company, cutting 30% of the code in the hope of inspiring you all. When I first entered the code repository of this genetic testing company, it was like the destined one setting out on his journey to the west. Tens of thousands of lines of code contained 20 product lines, like 20 yaoguai. These yaoguai were all transformed from diagnostic logic. Each product was completely independent in terms of code, covering both gene sequencing-based screening and diagnostic logic. At first glance, the different codes seemed unrelated, so maintaining or developing new products could be done by tackling each one individually. However, problems soon arose when we were required to standardize the threshold values for targeted drug logic across all products. To complete the task, I, a newcomer, reviewed each file one by one to figure out how to tackle each yaoguai. This comparison revealed the issue. The code strictly adhered to the principle of same function, different implementation. For example, the code for targeted drug judgment logic in the first and second products was identical. However, while the code in the third product appeared different, the underlying logic was actually identical. It's easy to imagine that these codes were written by different colleagues. However, there was no time to dwell on this. To complete the simple task of modifying the threshold, I reviewed 20 product lines, analyzed 3,000 lines of code following the similar codes that may have exactly the same function, labeled the functionality of each code segment, and finally identified the specific line where the threshold needed to be modified in each product line's code. It was like fighting yaoguai, one by one, until I finally succeeded. However, even for this simple task, it took 2 days to complete. If the future tasks were slightly more complex, wouldn't it take several weeks to finish?
Bereft of reading the code, how shall they show the world their functions are decaying, and their taste is rotten?
After going through this ordeal, I believe that you, like me, have deduced that these codes may have originated from the same source. So I compared each product's judgment logic one by one to confirm the functions of all product lines. In the end, it was just a combination of 6 judgment logics with different gene sets. So I followed the code logic, as if I had traveled back in time to a few years ago, when the system was first built, and extracted the common functions from the code mountain. This process was very similar to the destined one's journey to the west, where he went through many tribulations to find the 6 senses, or 6 common functions, and further encapsulated them into a common class, allowing the true form of the great sage to appear. Since the differences between products lie solely in 2 aspects, whether the logic is enabled and the gene set, I can control these parameters via a configuration table. Using the appluck of many method, each configuration corresponds to a clone. Through configuration-driven logic, the true form can spawn 20 clone product lines. When logic needs to be modified or added, simply update the true form's code, and the clones will automatically update. If a new product line is needed, simply add a row of parameters to the configuration table, and the product line will automatically be added. Since then, multiple new product lines were added at a minute-level speed, an efficiency unmatched in the past. All product diagnostic-related configurations are displayed in the configuration table, making them clear at a glance. I also explained the current system design to the product managers. From then on, this once obscure black box became understandable to them.
You must cast aside his soulless shell and merge the 6 into one.
Although the diagnostic logic is clear enough, there is a large part of the system's functionality that I have never covered. The diagnostic results are only an intermediate process. Ultimately, a report must be issued to the patient. In the existing system, this process involves retrieving relevant information from the database, populating a word template, and generating the report. While each code segment appears to have only 2 tasks, there are actually 4 challenges. First, the information required varies by product line. So the code for each product line must be written independently to retrieve data from different databases. Second, after writing the code, its correctness must be verified, which requires extensive debugging at the word level. Otherwise, spaces in fields may cause mismatches, leading to missing content. Third, if the word template changes, Python must be updated accordingly, making code maintenance extremely challenging. Fourth, each product line has multiple word templates to accommodate different hospital formatting requirements, necessitating completely different code for each template. This is like facing a lot of bosses, each with their own unique skills. There is no universal solution. Before I could even familiarize myself with the code logic, another urgent task arose. We need to add 20 templates and the corresponding codes for a new hospital across these 20 product lines. The workload is unimaginable, faced with this urgent task. I had no choice but to grit my teeth and write the code line by line using the original method. You might ask, why can't we just create one template for each product line? That would be much simpler. The reason is that, as a subcontractor, we don't have the authority to customize the report templates.
他人不由我，枉费执着。
After 2 weeks of tortuous code reading, writing, and debugging, I finally completed the code for the 20-word templates. Though the process was arduous, it also yielded a major discovery. These seemingly diverse report templates all rely on the same underlying data: patient basic information, targeted site results, chemotherapy regimen recommendations, and genetic detail interpretations, among others. These are like scattered treasures, each with its own purpose, but their essence can all be organized and consolidated. So I designed a data structure for transferring information, called Meta Excel. It contains all the information that may be used when filling in various downstream templates. It's like the destined one collecting all the magical weapons that may be used in the future before facing the boss, storing everything in his bag. After that, I noticed the strong coupling between the template and the code. I found a solution to combine them into one Python docs template. In this solution, the code is directly written into the word template, with placeholders inserted where content needs to be filled in. Then, through a universal renderer, the information flows from Meta Excel into Word. Thus, the large amount of Python code originally generated to handle complex templates is integrated into the template itself, achieving a WYSIWYG experience with significantly improved readability and maintainability. Creating templates is like defeating a boss. You strategically pull out the right tools from your inventory and beat him in one shot. Additionally, since Word has built-in autofill logic and does not require a special editor for editing, with relatively low programming requirements, I trained relevant colleagues on this new template creation method. With the assistance of my bros, the reporting process, which previously took weeks, was reduced to hours.
Bottoms up, brothers! One final toast before we crash the Celestial Palace!
To summarize, I restructured 2 major components of the original system. In terms of diagnostic logic, I extracted generic functions from the codebase to create a versatile class, then used configuration tables to build the actual product line. In terms of report generation, I first aggregated information from various databases into MetaExcel, then integrated the template with the fill logic, and finally had the renderer write the corresponding information into the Word template. After 2 major overhauls, I reduced the original system from 30,000 lines of code to 20,000 lines, significantly enhancing the scalability. Later, upon guidance from an expert, I realized that the solutions I had independently developed were actually known as configuration-driven development and MVC model view controller. I couldn't help but marvel. Architecture isn't just found in the pages of books, it's also forged in the soil of problem solving. Perhaps architecture itself isn't difficult, but the courage to break old traditions and create new ones is. This chapter of my journey has come to an end. Looking back, although the responsibility was heavy, it gave me the opportunity to work on a system critical to the company's survival. It was one of the most valuable treasures the company provided me and one of the most fulfilling experiences of my career. Now that I've shared this experience, I'm ready to embark on a new journey.
Your journey, though, has just begun.
If this can help you avoid the pitfalls on your journey, don't forget to like it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe for more interesting technical insights.